Good evening everyone. Thanks for joining us on a Saturday. So every year we do a webinar series actually to help students with the various aspects of the GMAT application, etc. So there are 6 webinars in this series. So today is the first one in the series. So every alternate Saturday we are going to run this. The entire webinar schedule, everything is available on our website, so you can actually pick and choose which one you want to attend, mark your calendars accordingly, plan in advance, etc. Okay, any of you, have you ever attended a Jamboree webinar? Have you attended any webinar of any type hosted by Jamboree? Okay, so that's fine. So I'll just brief the ground rules anyway. So you guys are already using the chat feature, so you know about the chat feature. So when I'm speaking, so at that time, don't type in questions. When I'm speaking, I'm sure you will have lots of questions. You may have doubts, but don't start typing them in the chat window. I mean, wait till I ask you for the question. So after every slide or now and then, I may ask you that do you have any question? That's the time that you type in your question. So we'll pause, address some of the questions, and then move on. Towards the end of the session also we will have another question answer period, so you can keep noting down your questions, but type in your questions only when I ask you to, right? That will help us not to miss any of your questions. Okay, everybody okay? Everybody can still hear me? Okay, so during the webinar, if you're not able to hear my voice, but then you need to log out and log in again. There may be an internet problem at your end. So right now everybody can hear me, and so this is how it should go, right? So at any time if there is a voice lag, or if my voice starts breaking, then my advice is that you log out and then log in again, right? So moving on. So this is a slide that I'm going to put up at the beginning of each of my webinars, so that you guys are very clear about what the admission requirements are. So you are preparing for GMAT or thinking about preparing for GMAT. So why do you need the GMAT? The GMAT is one of the admissions criteria, right? So your end goal is not to get a GMAT score. Your end goal is to get admission in a good business school. Am I right? Everybody agrees? So that is your end goal, right? Your end goal is to get an admission in a business school. Your end goal is not to just get the GMAT score. Everybody understand what I'm trying to say? Everybody clear? The reason why I'm saying this is that very often I see students who get totally swept up by the whole GMAT thing. They do not plan their applications. They just focus on the GMAT. Well, it's good to focus on the GMAT, but GMAT is one of the admissions criteria. Only a good GMAT score is not going to get you the admission offers, right? So you need to, when you're at this stage, when you're planning your GMAT exam, your application, etc., you need to plan it properly, right? You cannot spend like 7-8 months on your GMAT preparation. If you do so, you are going to lose you are going to miss out on your application deadlines. Okay, so it's very important from the very beginning to understand what are the requirements. So these are the requirements. GMAT score, of course, that everybody is clear about, I'm pretty sure. Then a language test, right? Now this depends on which country you want to go to. Depending on that, you may or may not be required to take an admission. It may not be required to take a English comprehension test. So your academic record, that means anything after your class 12, your bachelor's degree, if you have a master's degree, then that, if you have done some certifications or diplomas, so all of that come under the category of academic record. Then work experience and internship. So work experience means both the quantity as well as the quality of the work experience, not just the number of years of work experience. So that is one significant criteria. Extracurricular activities. Now this happens to be the weakest portion, weakest segment of an Indian applicant, right? So extracurricular activities, but very important. Then essays, application essays. So when you start applying, now this will happen only when you start the applications, right? Only when you start the online application. So you will need to write some essays. Every business school wants, like, 5 to 6 essays. Some universities might want 2 or 3, and then there are the European colleges especially they want 8 to 9 essays. So every MBA application you have to write a set of essays. So it's not just copy paste from one essay to the other. You may have to draft everything from scratch. Then you will require 2 to 3 letters of recommendations. Most business schools require 2 letters of recommendation, but some may require 3 or 1 as well. So this is a lot of work. Now this work is not like directly like copy paste from one university to other. So you have to budget enough time to write 3-4 essays and 2 letters of recommendation for every university, right? So that's the time that you have to budget. In my experience, I see that MBA students they end up applying to about 4 to 5 colleges, so which is a fair number of colleges. So you have to understand that finally you will have time to apply for only 4 to 5 business schools. So you should be very careful which ones you want to start with. So today is just the first session. So we have got this webinar is a 6 webinar series, right? So we'll get more into the details of the essays and letters of recommendation, or how to improve your profile, etc. In the later webinars. Today because this is the right time to start your GMAT preparation, and at the very beginning of GMAT preparation, if you don't start right, if you don't start in the correct manner, it will be very difficult for you to learn the correct method later on. So today's webinar will be focusing mainly on the GMAT exam. There are some myths about the GMAT exam. There are some facts. So today we'll just spend time on going through those. Right, so GMAT. Today our focus will be on the GMAT exam. Now GMAT is an extremely flexible exam. You need to know that. Some of you may be thinking about CAT also, or you may have already taken the CAT exam, or you may be in 2 minds probably whether to take CAT or GMAT. So but GMAT is far more flexible and user friendly. So it is conducted throughout the year, so you need to know that. However, it does not mean that you can take it whenever you want to. You have to take the GMAT exam so that you are able to meet the deadlines of the universities. So if you have a business school in mind, you have to look at it. You have to go find out the deadline of the business school and then plan your GMAT, right? Yes, it is conducted throughout the year, but you cannot take it whenever you want to. You will have to keep the university deadlines in mind. Okay. You can postpone your exam date. So let's say that today you feel that I will be able to take my exam on August 15th, let's say, or August 16th. So and you book your date, but beginning of August you start realizing that, oh my God, if I invest a couple of more weeks in preparation, I may be able to get a better score. In that case, you can postpone the exam date, right? So it's not that once you book the exam you have to take the exam on that day. You already know that multiple attempts are allowed, right? So in a year, you can take the GMAT 5 times, right? Of course, I don't advise this. It's the GMAT is an exam. It's not a hobby. So you cannot does not make sense to take it again and again. So technically, yes, you can take the GMAT 5 times in a year. But it's not advisable at all. You should try to do your best job in the first attempt. In case you are not able to get a good score, then you can think about the second attempt, but not more than that. Does not make sense. Now, how many of you know about the score cancellation policy? Let's say that you take the exam on July 1st and you don't get a good score. Do you know that you can cancel your score? So what happens is that on the GMAT day you take the exam, and immediately after you take the exam you get your score. You get your IR score, you get your math score, and you get your verbal score. So you get your overall score out of 800. So let's say that you were targeting 700, right? And you took the exam, and the score that you see on the screen is 620. Okay, so what you can do is that, and you will have like you can cancel that score, right? You need not accept that score. You will get a question, do you want to accept this score or cancel it? So you can cancel the score then and there, right? Now let's say that at that time you are not able to make up your mind. You need a couple of days probably to talk to your faculty, to talk to your friends, to talk to your parents, whatever, right? So on that day, on exam day, let me call it D-Day, right? So on D-Day, if you cancel your GMAT score, right, you don't like it, so you cancel it. So that cancellation is free, right? You don't have to pay anything for it, so you can cancel for free, right? GMSE last year they added that thing that you can also cancel the score within 72 hours. So on the let's consider this situation that you are targeting 700, but you get a 680. Now that's a tough call. Should you cancel this score or should you accept this score? You will actually want to talk to your faculty. You would want to talk to some people before you are able to decide. So in such a scenario, after seeing the score, you can accept the score. You can then come back home, discuss with whoever you want to, and within 72 hours you can go back, on the MBA.com website, you can go back and cancel the score. If you do that, then you pay a fee of $25. That's it. So either you cancel on the day of the exam. So let's say your target is 700 and you get a 500 for whatever reason. So then it's a no-brainer, right? You can go ahead and cancel the score and you take the exam again. But let's say you are targeting 720 and you get a 700. Now that's a tricky call. Should you accept this score or cancel this score, right? Under such a circumstance, you just accept this score, come back and discuss it whoever you want to, and then you can cancel it, right? So now cancel. Now after cancelling, what will you do? The natural step is to take the GMAT again, right? So you can retake the GMAT after 16 days. After 16 calendar days, you can retake the GMAT. Now let's say that in your first attempt, you get a score of again 680, right? And you cancel this score because you were targeting 700 or whatever, right? Then you go back and you take the exam a second time and you get a 640, right? Now in this case, what do you do, right? In this case, what do you do? And let's say you do not have enough time now to take it a third time. So in this case, after seeing the 640, you cancel the score then and there, and you can go back and reinstate this score. So you can go back to MBA.com and say, okay, I now want my I want my earlier score. I had cancelled it, yes, but I want it back. So you can reinstate cancel scores by paying a fee of $50, right? So the whole idea is to just kind of show you guys how flexible the GMAT exam is. You can plan, you can retake, you can cancel scores, and you get enough time to kind of take decisions, whether it is about cancellations or reinstatement. A lot of flexibility in that case, right? Everybody clear? Everybody clear about score cancellations and reinstatement? Everybody is clear? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions till now? Yes, no, any questions? So Rituparna, if you do not cancel the score, then your official score report will carry the scores. So the university that you apply to, they will know that you took the exam 2 times, 3 times, whatever. But if you cancel the score, the university will not, get to know how many times you took the exam. So that's a huge advantage. So that's why it makes sense that if you are not happy with the score, it makes sense to cancel it, and if you have enough time to retake it, then it makes sense to cancel it. Cancelled scores do not appear on the official score report. The official score report that will go to the universities, when you apply, they will just have the scores of the exams that you took, not the cancelled scores. Prashant, your question is any general idea on what's a decent score range? It's a very tough question to answer. Remember the admissions criteria slide that I showed you. So there are so many things there. 600 may be a good score for somebody, and somebody may not even get admission with a 700. So it's an overall profile that matters. It's not only the GMAT score. Any other questions? Anybody? Tupana question is, if I get 700 in the first attempt and 680 in the second, okay, so the moment you see the 680, cancel it. It's a no-brainer, right? If your second attempt score is lower than the first attempt, the first thing you should do is that cancel that score. Then go back and reinstate your 700. If you have time to take it third time, then take it third time. And if the third time score is more than 700, you accept the third time score. But if the third attempt score is also lower than 700, then you go back and reinstate your the score of your first attempt. Is that clear? Devashi's question is, if we do not cancel a score and we get a better score next time, will the universities have our low scores as well? Does it affect my application? Yes. GMSE reports the scores of your 5 GMAT attempts to universities, right? So that so if you do not cancel your score, let's say your first attempt you got a 700, good enough score, you did not cancel it, right? Second time you got a 730, so the university will have both the scores, and it does not make a good impression, if they see that you have taken the exam like a lot of times, So see, what is a good score is a very difficult question. 720 is a good score for what college, right? There are a lot of colleges where with 720 you will get a rejection, but with a good profile you may get admission with a 700 or 680 also in that very same college. So what is a good score is a very difficult question to answer unless we look at the rest of the profile. Again, Priyanka, your question is scoring 700 plus tough. It varies. It varies where you stand. Some people will say it's difficult. Some people will say it's not. It totally depends on your level. Yes, Pushkar, your question is correct. That if you cancel on the same day, it is for free. If you cancel within 72 hours, that is after you leave the exam center, and then within 72 hours if you cancel, then you have to pay $25. Yes. See, if you first time you take the exam, let's do it. Let's say first time you took the exam, you got a 650. You did not cancel this score, right? So you did not cancel it. So you took the exam again, second time, and you got a 680, let's say. So the universities will consider this score. Universities always consider the higher score, right? Second scenario, in your first attempt you got a 650, you did not cancel it. In the second time you took the exam, you got a 600, In this case, it's a no-brainer. You should cancel this score. So Devashish, if there is a significant increase in your score, then it does not matter whether you took the exam twice or not. But if there is just a 10-20 point difference, then it does have a negative impact. Rituparna, after 72 hours you cannot cancel your score. So you can cancel either in the exam center immediately after you see the score, or within 72 hours. After the 72 hours have elapsed, you cannot cancel your score. Okay, everybody clear? Any more questions? Okay, now moving on, some basics about the exam. First of all, it is a standardized test. What does that mean? It means that whether you get a 650 from India, or a 650 from UK, 650 from Australia, 650 from Africa, a 650 is a 650. It is a standardized test, right? Unlike the rest of the things on the admissions criteria. So in admissions criteria, you cannot compare academic records directly. 60% in BA English honors is not directly equivalent to a 60% in engineering degree, right? So nothing else in the admissions criteria is standardized. Nothing else can be directly compared. The GMAT score can be. That's why the GMAT score is very, very significant. It gives an impression. It gives an impression to the admissions committee. So if you want to make a good impression, you should. A good GMAT score helps. It is the only standardized component in the list of admissions criteria to B schools. So that's why it's so very important. It has a fixed pattern. That is really easy. That makes teaching GMAT very easy. Unlike CAT, in CAT it's extremely unpredictable. You don't know what's going to get tested, what type of questions. It's extremely unpredictable. But the GMAT is a fixed pattern, fixed type of, not just the concepts, even the types of questions that are going to come are fixed. Whether it is a verbal portion or the math portion, what are the types of questions that you will get, that type is also fixed. So the fixed pattern of the GMAT makes it easier for people to prepare for the GMAT. It makes it easier for companies like us to teach the GMAT. The syllabus is also fixed. Everybody knows of the official guide, right? The official guide. So the whatever syllabus is given in the official guide, that is the syllabus that is being tested. Nothing else, nothing additional. So that again makes preparing for the GMAT comparatively easier. You do not have to struggle with the exam itself. You may have to struggle with the concepts or how to get a good mark, but at least your rival is not the exam itself. Unlike the CAT, right? There are 4 sections. The first section that comes is the AWA, Analytical Writing Assessment, in which you will have to write one essay, right? So one essay for 30 minutes. So that is the Analytical Writing Assessment section. Then the second section that comes is the Integrated Reasoning, right? It is a combination of math and verbal. It is a little bit like data interpretation. This section is also for 30 minutes. In this 30 minutes, you will have to solve 12 questions. Right. Then comes the math section, the quantitative section, which is for 75 minutes, and in this you have to do 37 questions. So 75 minutes and 37 questions, right? So this is the math section, and the last section is the verbal section, in which you have to do again it is for 75 minutes, and you have 41 questions, right? Okay, so this is again, the structure is fixed. This is the structure of the GMAT exam. There are no surprises. On the day of the exam, it will not happen that you go and you realize that the math section now has 50 questions. It's not going to happen. It is a fixed pattern exam, which is of great advantage, because in your head now it is one less thing to worry about. You don't have to worry about what's going to come on the exam, because you know what's going to come on the exam. You know what type of questions are going to come in the exam, right? So there is one less thing to worry about. Another advantage of the GMAT exam is that the score is absolute. So if you get a 600, it's 600, right? It does not mean that if everybody else does well, your 600 will become 500. So it's not like that. Unlike the CAT exam, where if you do well and everybody else does well, your percentile score will be still very low, right? So in exams like CAT, your own performance is not as important as the performance of others. So on the CAT exam, if you do badly, and let's say that the rest of the people, they do even worse, then you will get a high percentile, right? And but on the GMAT, that's not the case. On the GMAT, it's your absolute performance. If you do well, you will get a good score. If you do badly, you will get a bad score, right? So that's another advantage. Your performance is independent of other people's performances. Now one important thing about the GMAT exam is that the exam in itself is very intelligent. It is a computer adaptive exam, right? So let me just explain a bit about what's the meaning of computer adaptive. So the analytical writing assessment is not computer adaptive. The integrated reasoning section is also not computer adaptive. Only the math and verbal sections are computer adaptive, right? So what computer adaptive means is that, let's say your question number 1, you get it right. It is of a certain difficulty level. Let's say you get it right, then the second question will be of a higher difficulty level. If you get it right, this third question will be of a higher difficulty level, but if you get it wrong, then the third question will be of a lower difficulty level, right? So what that means is that the computer kind of tests your ability, right? So depending on how you perform on every question, the computer adjusts the difficulty level of the questions. Higher difficulty level questions carry more marks. So when I told you that in verbal 41 questions, so the mark is not equally divided. All these 41 questions do not carry equal marks. The questions that are more difficult, they carry more marks, and the questions that are less difficult carry lesser marks. So it is of course advantageous if you do the questions correctly, right? One other thing that you should keep in mind is that if you do not complete the questions, right? In the 37, let's say there are maths questions, and you could complete only 35 questions, then there's a huge negative marking, right? So it is better to take a guess and proceed than leave a question unattempted. So the GMAT, the unattempted questions, there's a huge penalty. Okay, some things to keep in mind while preparing, right? When you're preparing for your GMAT exam, don't go by quantity, So it's like, okay, I did the Jamboree material, I did XYZ material, I did this material, I did that material. So it's not the quantity. Quantity does not matter. One thing you should know is that unlike your I don't know what, if you guys are engineers, you might have taken the JEE exam or AIEEE exam. So unlike those exams, no matter how many questions you do for GMAT, no matter how many GMAT questions you prepare at the preparation stage, it is a guarantee that you will not get one of those in the actual GMAT exam. So that is a guarantee, right? So there is no point focusing on the quantity of the questions. No matter how many questions you do, you are not going to get one of those questions in the actual GMAT. In the actual GMAT, you will always see a question that you have never seen before. So focus on the quality, right? Quality of preparation and quality of questions. Time management. Now see, till now in your entire life, the exams that you might have taken, if it's like in your school, if it's an English exam, yes, it is a 3-hour exam, but for the entire 3 hours you are doing only English. Let's say it's a physics exam, so entire 3 hours you are doing only physics, right? So you do not have to do a lot of mental adaptation. But in the GMAT, it's extremely difficult, because first you have to write an essay, then you have to do some data interpretation type of questions, then you have to do math, then you have to do verbal. So this constant switching makes the exam even more difficult. To write an essay, you need to be in a different mind frame, you need to be in a different frame of mind. To be able to do a math question, you need to, I mean, different type of skills come into picture. You need to be in a different frame of mind. To do a verbal question, again you have to switch gears, and you have to be like, you know, a totally different frame of mind. So this mental agility, you know, the ability to, you know, switch between different types of questions, not just types of questions, different types of topic, you know, that plays a major role in your, you know, in your ability to get a good score in the GMAT exam. So that leads to this first point about how to prepare, right? So some of you have started your GMAT preparation, or some of you are probably thinking of preparing, you know, for your GMAT exam. So so based on these 2 points, you know, so keep these 2 points in mind. So what it means is that, you know, that when you are solving a question, you know, and after let's say you are doing 20 questions, so after you do the 20 questions, you probably will check the answers. Some of them will be wrong, some of them will be right. It's a general tendency that students do not review the questions that they get correct. They only go into the details of the questions that they get wrong. But, you know, in the GMAT there are like 5 options, right? A, B, C, D, E, right? So sometimes it happens that you are stuck between 2 options, you know. Let's say you are stuck between B and E, and you just guessed it as B and the question is correct. It does not mean that you got this question correct. It just means that you got lucky. On exam day you might have chosen E, and then you will probably get this question wrong. So when you are preparing, when you are practicing questions, review both wrong as well as, you know, correct answers. So whatever questions you get correct, whatever questions you get wrong, review all of them equally. You have to be 100% sure why the other 4 options are wrong, you know. Remember, you are never going to get the same question in the exam. What will get tested are the concepts and the strategies, right? So after you do like a set of 20 problems, spend equal amount of time reviewing. You have to be 100% sure why the other 4 options are wrong. Unless you do that, you are not preparing correctly, you are not practicing correctly. It helps, you know, when you are doing any exercise, it helps to have a spare piece of paper, you know, in front of you, and just, as I said, if you are stuck between 2 options, write down those 2 options. Let's say question number 10, you are stuck between A and B, right? A comma B, you know. On question number 15, let's say you are stuck between C and E, then write C comma E. So when you are, you know, when you are checking the answers, then you will know which ones you got stuck with, you know. Now this is extremely important for verbal. And some of you are already taking classes, so when you come for your classes, you will know, okay, I got stuck between these 2 options. So you can ask your faculty, so why not C, you know, why not E? You can ask those questions, because while doing the problem you got stuck between 2 options, right? Those 2 options, and your classes probably happen once a week or twice a week. So when you come for your classes, you may not actually remember exactly where you got stuck. So keep a piece of paper with you when you are solving the questions. Make a note of the questions that you got stuck. That will help you get the maximum out of the classes. Now, when to practice? It may appear to be a kind of like a silly question that, okay, oh, we should prepare whenever we have time, you know. That seems to be the standard, you know, answer. But that's not correct, you know. You guys are probably working professionals or students. Whatever you are, there's a scarcity of time. You are always probably pressed for time, you know. So you have to work smart. If you are even studying for 1 hour, you have to make sure that you get the best out of that 1 hour, you know. And if you are studying for like only on weekends, then also you need to make sure that you are getting the best out of it, right? So in my experience, you know, whatever I have seen, you know, the most effective routine, you know, most effective way to study is, you know, not to overdo it. Whenever you start your GMAT coaching, or whenever you start your GMAT preparation, you are like very enthusiastic, you know, you are very, very energetic, and you will probably prepare a lot, you know. If you do that, you are bound to burn out far sooner. You will invest a lot of time initially, and then you will realize that you are not getting too many questions correct. You know, in the beginning you will not get too many questions correct, but if you are investing a lot of time and energy, then it becomes very demotivating. You will realize that, oh, I am spending so much time and energy, but my accuracy is not going up. and it will lead to getting being demotivated. So start slow. In the first few weeks, do not spend too much time, only do your homework. Let your accuracy pick up, and then towards the end you can pace up. In the beginning, don't be over enthusiastic and invest too much time on your preparation, right? Also, when to practice by that, in the late evenings, every day, just probably study for 1 hour, not more than that. Study for 1 hour, of which you should do equal amount of math and verbal. It should not be that, okay, Monday math, Tuesday verbal. That does not work. Every day do equal number of math and verbal, so that you are developing your mental agility, right? You cannot keep, that is one very subtle skill that is required, and you cannot leave it till the end of your course. So right from day one, when you are studying, you should study both math and verbal equally. 1 hour a day is enough. 1 hour a day. Being regular is far more important than just putting in 10 hours over the weekends. It's more important to be regular. So 1 hour daily is fine. In the night probably you may just give 30 minutes and do both of days. So the night time, hang on, just hold on. So the night time should be, your evening, the night, after you come from your work or whatever, the night time should be devoted to only revision. Only revision. Do not solve fresh new questions. And morning or during the day, whatever time you are studying, that is the time that you should devote for solving, right? So the solving part, in your verbal classes you get homework, in your math classes you get homework. So try to do the homework during the morning time, and the review do at night. And when you are reviewing, also do some of the revision of the rules, etc. In verbal, you have got all your redundancy lists and preposition lists and all of those things to memorize as well. Do those at night, because at night you will be tired and everything. So your accuracy would be very low if you try to do the fresh questions. Not because you don't know this stuff, but because you are fatigued. When you are tired, your brain does not work that well. Okay, so during the night time, just leave it for revision and reviewing. During the daytime, do your homework. If you are doing only weekend classes, let's say that on Saturday you have got maths, and on Sunday you have got verbal. Let's say that you have this classes, right? Math and verbal. So do not do your math homework, do not do your verbal homework on all of your verbal homework on Monday or Tuesday. Give yourself some time. Do the homework probably on Wednesday or Thursday, right? Start doing the homework then. Otherwise, again, by the time you come for your class next Sunday, you will not even remember what the questions were. So give yourself some time to forget. Immediately after the class, you will remember this stuff. Okay, so give yourself some time to forget. That will be a better preparation, to know what concepts you have been able to retain, how much you have forgotten. So that will give you an idea of how much time you need to put into your preparation. And these are things that you should start right from the initial stages of your preparation. These are not things that you should do towards the end of your classes or whatever. Okay, in how to practice, another thing, just hang on. So in how to practice, do not write in your books. Do not write in your books. The GMAT is a computer based test, right? It is only computer. It's not on pieces of paper, right? So do not write on your books. If you write on your books, in reading comprehension, let's say if you are underlining stuff in your passages, etc. In maths, you are in the geometry figures, you are drawing something, blah blah blah. So on the exam, the questions will appear on the screen and you will not be able to do all of that. So don't get into the habit of doing things on the books. So that's one reason why you should not be writing on your books. Second reason why you should not be writing on your books is that whether it's the official guide or the Jamboree books, if you write on them, then they become useless for revision. you will take at least 3-4 months for your GMAT preparation, right? And towards the end, when you will be in complete revision mode, your books will become useless. Your books will become useless if they're full of writing and correct answers marked out or passages underlined, etc., etc. The books will become useless for revision, or will become useless for resolving. Okay, so that's for these two reasons, you should get into the habit of not writing in your books at all from day one. Okay, any questions till here? Any questions on till here before I go into the how and when to register for the exam? Any questions till here? Okay, I see that Devashish had a question that there are higher number of 700 plus scores from India, so there is percentile comes into play. Devashish, nobody, not even GMAC, nobody keeps track of how many 700 scores came from India. So it is just a perception, the university will not have any data. They will not know, how many students get 700 plus from India, etc., etc. So that those are just myths, nobody keeps track of that. Any questions till now? I hope those of you who have started your GMAT preparation, I hope you guys are already doing these. Yes, no? Those of you who have started your preparation, are you guys already taking care of these things that I have talked about? Okay, great. Now, how and when to register for the exam? Very important, As if you remember in my earlier slide, I told you that you can cancel, you can reschedule your exam. So it might be a good idea to book a date, book a date, and then you can, that's how Indian students, they kind of operate. Once a date is set, then their preparation becomes very serious. So it might be useful. It might be useful if you, it might be useful if you can start your can book a date and then prepare accordingly. And in case you're not ready, you can go back and you can go and reschedule the exam. But if you can set a date of August or September, then you will at least have that pace to work with. Moreover, if you take your exam in August, or like beginning of August or middle of August, if you do not do well, you have enough time to retake the exam also. Most of the deadlines would not even have started by that time, right? So that will be helpful if you set your date. Now in one day, the exams are held in 3 slots: the morning slot, the afternoon slot, and the evening slot. As far as possible, do not take the evening slot. The evening slot starts at 4:30, and in some centers it starts at 5 p.m. also. So do not take the evening slot. I have never seen anybody get a very good score in the evening slot. The reason is that they wake up in the morning, then they're tense throughout the day. They're not able to have breakfast. They're worried. They, by the time it is 4 p.m., they are already a bundle of nerves. So the evening slot, somehow people are not able to do their best in the evening slot. So as far as possible, try not to book the evening slot. Now, having said that, August, September, October, November, these 4 months are the peak exam taking time in India, right? Most of the students take their exams during these times, so this slot will be filled. So you may be forced to take an evening slot. You don't know, right? You may be forced to. It's like you don't have any other option. You have to take the evening slot. In that case, wake up late. Wake up at around 11-12 o'clock. No need to wake up at 6 a.m. Wake up late. Give yourself as few hours as possible to worry or to be nervous. So that's one thing that you can do. But if you go and book your date now, if you start booking your date now, then you can make sure that you do not get the evening slot, right? Both morning slots and afternoon slots are good. The morning slot is either 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. 10 a.m. is good, but if it's 9 a.m., And if you're not a very morning person, then that may not be good, but morning and afternoon slots are good. We get good scores, from both these slots. Most of our students, whatever score they get in their practice or whatever the predicted scores are, they are able to get in these two slots. The evening slot is like the evening slot is a menace. Any questions? By the way, in case you don't know, like you can the place where you need to book your exam date, the website is mba.com, right? So that is the website where you need to go and book the date. The registration fee is $250. I'm sure you already know all of this. Any questions on the exam registration? So the exam cancellation and rescheduling cost, so if you do that 7 days before the date, then it's $50. After that you have to pay the entire fee. So if your exam date is, let's say, August 7th, so till August 31st you can reschedule or do whatever you want to do, or cancel or whatever, by paying just $50. After August, on August 2nd or August 3rd, you will have to pay the entire fees. Now there are some very common myths about the GMAT exam. One common myth is that the first few questions in the GMAT exam are more important. This is wrong. People think that they are more important because of the because of the computer adaptive nature of the exam. That if you get the first question correct, the second one will be so. Because of the computer adaptive nature of the exam, people think that the first few questions in the exam are very important. So you have to pay more attention. So you need to spend more time. But that's not actually true, right? This is another common myth, that you must get 700 plus. So today also I think one of you said that 720 plus is a good score. So this is another myth, that you have to get a 700 plus to get admission in a top business school, right? We had a student who got into INSEAD. Everybody, you might have heard the name of the business school, INSEAD. It's like a top 5 business school in the world, right? So one of our students got into INSEAD with a 640 also, right? So it's a profile, entire profile. GMAT score is just one of the things, just one of the criteria. Entire profile comes into play. We get students from the humanities segment, people who have not studied maths since class 10. So they are usually very nervous. They believe that you have to be very good in maths to get a good GMAT score. We also get a lot of students who are engineers, and they believe that you have to be very good in English to get a good score on the GMAT exam. Both of these things are wrong. The GMAT is not a maths test or a English aptitude test, right? The GMAT is a reasoning test. Whether it's a maths question or the English section, it's a reasoning test. Your reasoning ability gets tested, right? So you need to have a very good reasoning ability to get a good GMAT score. And reasoning ability is what is needed to become a good manager also, right? That business schools wants the GMAT score, because the GMAT score is a measure of the reasoning ability of a candidate, right? So GMAT tests your reasoning ability, your IQ, your aptitude, but not your skills, particularly in math and English. So that's what you need to know. I have seen students, we have centers in Dubai, Abu Dhabi also. So we have some of the local students who cannot speak English. They have never learned English. They end up getting high scores, because if you just follow the method, if you just follow the rules, if you just stick to what's required, you can get a good score, right? So you do not need to be good in math and English to get a good GMAT score. Now again, this is kind of related to this. People think that GMAT is the only admissions criteria. It's not. Yes, having a good GMAT score is an advantage, because it is the only standardized component in the application package. Yes, it is definitely important, but it is not the only admissions criteria. I have seen students with 770, 760 who get rejections. purely because they became overconfident. They did not work enough on their applications. Their essays were a mess, or they just did not know how to portray their profile properly. So a high GMAT score is not a guarantee of admission. So we come to the end of today's session, right? So this is the place. Remember, I told you that you need to schedule your business school, your GMAT according to the deadlines of the university. So this is a link on our website, on the Jamboree India website, where you'll find the deadlines of various universities. It will it will help you kind of like plan your GMAT exam. Most of the deadlines for the fall 2018 intake are not updated, so they will get updated. Universities have not released the dates yet, so by mid-July, the universities will start bringing out the applications for fall 2018. That's when the deadlines will get updated. But currently, by looking at the deadline, you will know that what were the deadlines for fall 2017, and most deadlines usually stay around the same time, right? So you will have a rough estimation of what the deadlines are going to be this year. Our entire webinar schedule, as I told you, so this is the first webinar in the series. So whatever the next webinars are, they're all in this link, the topic also, so you can decide which one to go for and which one to not go for. So all of this is there. In case you want a detailed one-to-one assessment of your profile, or if you want to have a discussion, you can email us at this ID, information@jamboreeindia.com. If those of you who are already Jamboree students, you can just ask. You can talk to your center manager to fix a time with an admissions counselor, so that will also help. Today's session was very basic about from the very beginning. You should know how to prepare for your GMAT exam, the do's and don'ts of GMAT preparation, very basic stuff. We'll get into far deeper stuff in the coming webinars. So thank you for joining us. I hope you learned something useful.